A lot of you are probably expecting another adventure to be covered today, but I'm trying my best to not rush into things. Before we touch on that, we'll be losing some of the advancements made over the years, but that being said, gear up and get ready for a masterful approach to an old favorite. Hello everybody, I'm Garrula64, and Sonic 1 is the third best classic Sonic game right behind Sonic 3 and Knuckles and Mania. Feel free to tell me why I'm wrong in the comments. Alright, let's not get ahead of ourselves, since I'm not actually talking about Sonic 1 today, or at least not the one you're thinking of. Sonic 1 for the Game Gear and Master System is something that I've only explored previously in Mania mods. You might remember I played a couple of those back in the day. I probably said something like, oh, they should remake the entire game in this engine because it's better, but you know, after playing them myself, I'm gonna go back on that. I think they're pretty alright as they are. The 8-bit version of Sonic 1 launched for the Game Gear and Master System several months after the Genesis version back in 1991. Oh boy, the Master System. Basically the cryptid of video game consoles for me. I've still never seen one and I've only heard legends. Was it actually real? The world may never know, or maybe they will. Like most Sonic games do, Sonic 1 begins in Green Hill. There are 2 acts before Dr. Robotnik shows up to fly back and forth menacingly. Next, you might think you're heading to Marble Zone, but this game actually bridges the gap between Zones 1 and 3 with a level that doesn't get the love it deserves. It's Bridge Zone. Basically Green Hill, except with more water. But not Splash Hill. God, life is so confusing. In this level, you can really feel how different the controls are from the Genesis version. While you're walking up these slight inclines, sometimes Sonic will just get stuck in place. Also, it doesn't help that Act 2 is an auto-scroller, but that combined with the different controls almost makes this feel like a Mario game without a run button. The main reason I say that is, contrary to what you might expect from a Sonic game, you spend a lot more time here platforming and navigating areas at lower speeds. This might have played into why I liked it so much, but some areas that I'll talk about later make me wish the level design had been approached differently when they were designing the game. Another couple gameplay changes while we're at it. It doesn't matter if you have 1 ring or 100 rings, if you get hit, you lose all of them and you can't recollect a single one. It's basically what they were doing in Forces until people complained about it. I don't think this detracts from the game that much, and the boss acts don't have rings anyway, so either way, they're still the most frustrating thing the game has to offer. The Chaos Emeralds are also just chilling out in the stages. I don't know if Robotnik just dropped them when he was walking home from the store or something, but it seems a little irresponsible. Also, they're all blue, which I won't complain about because blue is the best color. Bridge Zone welcomes us to the jungle, and here's where things start to get a little weird. It seems like there are a few paths you can take, but if you end up taking the higher road, it's a huge gamble as to what might be below you if you ever happen to fall. That's not something that's exclusive to this game, of course, but in this particular one, it's more intimidating for some reason, and I can't really describe why. Act 2 reminds me of Super Mario Bros. 2's 3-1, except once the screen scrolls up here, that is a death plane, and it really caught me off guard. Also, the screen doesn't scroll up fast enough, so you end up jumping directly into hazards with no way to see them coming. Nothing but good decisions here. The boss of this zone, thanks to the lack of rings, is much more challenging than it needs to be, for the wrong reasons. Keeping track of Robotnik and his discarded bowling balls at the same time gets hectic, and then maybe you run right off the edge after you beat him, and I don't know, it probably won't hurt you as much as it hurt me, but I'm a human and I feel things, and goddamn, I felt something after that. Next up, as if the game is actively trying to make me feel bad, it's Labyrinth Zone. So, I just want to know the process. You had Spring Yard, Starlight, and you chose to bring back the worst zone in the game and make it even worse because...
Pain keeps me warm.
It's back, and it's worse. That was not a joke. You're a lot slower underwater in this version than in the Genesis version, and these spears are really hard to dodge with Sonic being the size he is. Also, they put one of the Chaos Emeralds in this spike pit? They're just being cruel at this point, especially since the spike glitch is back in all its glory. Even the music is different than in the Genesis version, and that, coupled with all of the gameplay stuff I just mentioned, makes this a total downgrade of this zone in every conceivable way. And look at that, how fitting. After a frustrating zone, we have a frustrating boss. Again, it's not hard, it's just time-consuming, and these missiles here are very dedicated to their jobs. They also decided to bring back Scrap Brain Zone, again with different music, and this one really tripped me up since up until this point the game had been really linear, but this one requires that you take a couple paths to hit some switches before heading down another path. Otherwise, you get stuck in this here area with no way to progress, and you have to go and do it all over again. They never did anything like this before this point, and they don't do anything like it after. Then there's this other bit where you need to jump into a specific corridor after running down the same bit of level copy and pasted 3 times, and if you get impatient, you fall too far and you gotta do it all over again just like the last bit, and it's just bothersome, I don't like it. Scrap Brain is also the only zone with 3 full acts instead of 2, and there's no boss, you just get this nice cutscene of Robotnik teleporting away as Sonic gives chase. Finally, Sonic finds himself in Skybase Zone, which reeks of Flying Battery and Wing Fortress, but before those were a thing. Act 1 is kinda rough with all these electrical hazards, not being able to pick up rings really stings here. And now that I'm thinking about it, is it possible this act might have been the inspiration for all those electrical hazards in Mania's Flying Battery? Again, feel free to tell me I'm wrong in the comments, I love to hear about it. Act 2 is basically an entirely different ballgame, because you can just skip the whole thing, grab the emerald, and then just leave. Just between the two of us, I don't know what the rest of the stage looks like, because this is what I did for both playthroughs I did of this. And now, your entire 50-minute journey culminates here with the final boss. Robotnik stands behind some glass and tries to zap you, but he can't because Sonic is too cool to electrocute. And that's the end of the game. There's no huge conclusion or anything, it just ends, that's it. Sonic jams out a little bit in the credits, possibly a reference to the scrapped band that he was supposed to be a part of. I personally think they destroyed that concept because Vector's abs would have stolen the spotlight. And yeah, it's a pretty short romp, but it's a lot of fun. And now, since I'm in the middle of a handheld Sonic marathon of sorts, let's take a look at the Game Gear version. Immediately you'll notice one huge change. Sonic has had a redesign. They finally managed to do away with the biggest flaw in his design, that pesky nose. Just think about it. If you didn't have a nose, it couldn't get stuffed anymore, and I think it's definitely worth getting rid of for that purpose alone. I don't want to hear a single one of you disagreeing with me on that. I knows best. Speaking again about design, the levels are almost exactly the same aside from some subtle changes here and there. For example, the Chaos Emerald isn't in that spike pit in that Labyrinth Zone act anymore. Also, they put Scrapbrain's Emerald on the left side instead of the right. Thank you very much for that. That was a pressing issue that I'm glad was addressed. Also, to accommodate for that screen crunch, Sonic and all the Badniks are smaller than they were in the Master System version. But for whatever reason, they made Robotnik bigger so you can defeat him 10 times as fast as before, which, not gonna lie, rectifies a lot of the issues I had with the original game. Despite the screen crunch, I definitely had a better time playing this version. But believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, that's still not the best way to play this game, because when I had just finished recording footage of both versions of this, my friends brought this remake project by Creative Aria to my attention. Also, I probably said that wrong, and I am very sorry. This team is working not only on a Sonic 1, but also Sonic 2 Master System PC and Android remake. Yeah, you can play these things on your phone. Pretty sick. The resolution of the game is obviously ramped up to suit your PC, the screen is huge so you don't need to worry about reduced view you get on the Game Gear version, and it comes with a load of extras to boot, including the entire Mania gang as separate playable characters. It also adds a 7th Chaos Emerald, moves emeralds into the game's bonus stages, which also house one heck of a bop in my opinion, and it changes some level layouts to make them more player-friendly. This project even comes with the ability to switch out Bridge Zone for Marble Zone, and it has insta-kill lava for some reason. Look, I can die in lava in one hit in real life, I don't need this realism bleeding into my video games. I might not know a ton of specifics about the game just yet, but maybe we can all learn about it together when I stream it over on my Twitch channel. Follow me there, and keep an eye on my Discord, my Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube community tab for more info on when that stream might happen. So if you're gonna play 8-Bit Sonic 1, my personal recommendation would be to play the PC remake, because there's tons of new content, and it's just an overall more smooth experience. But honestly, it's just really dependent on what kind of experience you want to have while playing the game. And I guess you could always play it in the Game Gear Micro when it comes out, but I mean, unless you're the size of a mayfly, I don't think you're gonna be having much fun. Hello everybody, I'm Garrulous64, and Sonic 2 for the Game Gear and Master System is the real Sonic 2 because it came out before the Genesis version. Sorry, I don't make the rules. When I saw people commenting on the last 8-Bit Sonic videos saying things like, Sonic 2 is worse, get ready, or just wait till you get to Sonic 2, it didn't paint the best picture of what I was getting myself into. Regardless of that, I set off to do a handheld Sonic retrospective, and I intend to deliver on that. As I popped the game into my trusty Game Gear, and as soon as the title screen popped up, much like venturing into any YouTube video's comment section, except mine, you guys are all great, I knew I was about to subject myself to something horrific. I mean, look at that right there. Animal cruelty is horrific. Eggman needs to be stopped immediately. I actually regret playing this game, and it honestly is some of the worst the series has to offer in my opinion, in terms of platformers at least, and it really makes me appreciate Genesis Sonic 2, even though I'm not really a huge fan of that either. This time around, I elected to start with the Game Gear version, since people seem to be especially annoyed with that one, so why not get the worst out of the way first? Now, obviously, the first drawback is that the screen size has a huge decrease from that of the Master System version, and while in 8-Bit Sonic 1, this wasn't a huge problem, and in some cases even made the game easier, here it adds a slew of new issues, since they didn't really diverge much from the Master System version when they made this port. I'll definitely be bringing that up shortly, but aside from that, the game plays pretty similarly to the first one. Now, let's dig our own graves, shall we? First up, it's Underground Zone. Yeah, that's like the exact opposite of a hill. Looks like whoever designed this game hadn't yet been infected by the hill curse that's plagued the rest of the Sonic devs. Regardless of how I feel about this game, one thing I really liked was the special art they included for each zone. I'm not sure why they put Tails in all these since he's basically the Princess Peach of this game, but little details like this can really only help the game. Sonic 2's first impression isn't a great one. Imagine if Sonic 1 had started with Marble Zone, and you've pretty much got the idea. Spikes fall from the ceiling, sometimes you see them, sometimes you don't. There's spring platforming around lava that you will fall into if you haven't played the game before, and plenty of secret passages that hide goodies for you to collect. Right about here is where I noticed that you don't have the spin dash despite it being introduced in the Genesis version of Sonic 2. But, honestly, it really wouldn't have done too much for the game overall, it's just a small nitpick. Sonic also has the chance to ride minecarts in this level, vindicating the claims of the zone's title card. I didn't doubt you for a second. This is another trial and error type gimmick where sometimes they want you to jump out of the cart before the track ends or else you'll be in for a world of hurt, and other times it doesn't really matter unless you're a speedrunner, in which case that is a reset. In the third act, I was starting to wonder where all the hatred for this game was coming from. What I'd played so far hadn't been stellar, but it also wasn't unforgivable, but it was at this moment that the fun began. After what marks the first time Robotnik saves Sonic from a fiery fate, Nemesis goal's right there, he makes you wish you'd been baked at 450 till crust golden brown. First boss is this little chompy guy that I can only compare to those little antlion fellas from Terraria, and I guess real life too if you're gonna be a stickler about it. Right from the start of this fight, it's incredibly apparent that there's something wrong with the slopes of this version of the game. Rolling down hills prior to this didn't feel bad, but apparently once you're moving down a hill, Sonic will do everything in his power to stop existing, and there's not much you can do about it. After a handful of deaths that I didn't feel were my fault, I decided to boot up the Game Genie, that way I had infinite lives, and you may call it cheating, but I call it justice. I realized after this that I hadn't seen any Chaos Emeralds yet either, and after doing a quick search to find out how to access the special stages, I discovered that the Emeralds are once again sitting around for any average Joe to find. If that average Joe knows exactly where they are and is willing to make a series of annoyingly precise jumps, lest he get locked out of obtaining said jewel without taking an intentional death. Just wanted to go on record here, there have been a lot of methods for unlocking these things over the years, and very few of them have actually been fun or fair for first-time players. Call me a casual if you will, but I still think Sonic Rush did it best, followed closely by Sonic 3 and Sonic Mania. After coming to terms with how irritating it would be to collect the 6 all-powerful ring pops, it was time for a rematch with the Egg Antlion. I found that the best strategy is to just stand in place and jump when the explosive bowling balls get close to you. But every time I would look to see if the cretin was dead, it wouldn't be, and then it would hit me with a surprise strike with one of its faster-moving projectiles. Then to top it off at the very end, Robotnik runs out of patience and tries to rush you, and I'll admit it did get me the first time, again, because there was just a slight pause between the last bowling ball and him, so I thought the fight was over. Yep, seems like they're not above stuff like that, and this is only the first zone. Zone 2 is Sky High Zone, and when I covered a Mania mod based on the stage, I made a weed joke, which was a really low-hanging fruit, or a sky-high one, depending on who you ask. It's almost like comedy is subjective or something. Act 1 doesn't even have anything to talk about, it goes by in the blink of an eye, but Act 2 is where the real meat begins, and by meat, I mean another Chaos Emerald thrown into an asinine location. Seriously, blink and you'll miss it. I wasn't even sure if I collected the thing, since I wasn't listening closely to the game audio. Boss 2 is this ostrich-looking thing that gets mad at you because you destroyed its children, and this got me wondering if Robotnik programmed maternal instincts into this thing, or if the robot was just totally innocent in all this, and I was the monster the entire time. Then I stopped pondering and made sure the bird would never repeatedly drink water ever again. Now, did someone order a water level? No? Well, you're gonna have to take it anyway, or else it'll go to waste, and we can't have that, now can we? 9 times out of 10, I hate water levels, and wouldn't you know it, this is one of those 9 times. The first act looks terrible. I don't know why they did the water like this when the second act looks totally fine. Must have been something to do with limitations regarding having a level that's only partially underwater versus a level that's entirely underwater, but then again, they made Labyrinth Zone look just fine in the last game, so I've got my doubts. Speaking of Act 2, they included possibly one of the most irritating bits in Sonic history here. I know that's a big claim, but just hear me out. Occasionally, you'll jump into these bubbles, and they'll carry you upwards while also providing you with some sweet, sweet oxygen that no doubt smells like a wet hedgehog now that I think about it. That on its own isn't a bad thing, and honestly, it's kind of a fun gimmick, which is why Mania reused it, and this time I'm positive this is where the inspiration comes from. But they couldn't just settle for it being a nice little quick vehicle section. No, they had to add the Tunnel of Torment. A corridor that goes straight up for what feels like 25 years, that's filled with so many cheap obstacles that you'll have tunnel vision for getting through this struggle within minutes of attempting it. All you will know is tunnel by the end of this. And also watch out because at the top there's a spike ceiling that you can't see coming because of the Game Gear's soon-to-be even smaller screen. Act 3 is once again outside, and apparently you're able to skip Sonic over the water like a stone, which made me experience the illusion of having fun for a moment. But of course, that was then ruined because I flew headfirst into the boss. You're not supposed to have fun in this game apparently, and that just sealed the deal. Giving credit where credit's due, having the sealed balanced Sonic on its nose like a ball is a really cute idea, but aside from that, this boss might be one of the easiest things you come across in this game. I love it in video games when difficulty curves look like a rogue piece of spaghetti that fell off your ladle. Another thing I like about this game is that it's all unique levels. I mean, what are you talking about? There's an S right there, which means it totally isn't the same place as that boring old singular Green Hill. I mean, seriously, look at them, they're completely different. This stage brings us the banger that would eventually become Sonic CD's You Can Do Anything, and to this day, it remains one of the catchiest songs in the series, and it's only gotten better with every remix they've made of it. Music aside, I'm really neutral in this zone, aside from Act 3, because I'm really wondering who looked at this and was like, oh yeah, that looks great, ship it as is. This part here, I straight up didn't know what to do because no matter how many times I repositioned Sonic in the air, he just hit the spikes anyway, like this was his true fate all along. Just saying, blind jumps are terrible and the Game Gear made it a lot worse than it needed to be. Gimmick Mountain Zone, love that name by the way, contains, wouldn't you know it, gimmicks. Look, there's one now. This level actually wasn't too bad, probably the least offensive one so far with its quick platforming challenges and neat aesthetic. I think I'm being a bit softer on this one than the others since it kinda reminds me of the more mechanical levels from Sonic 1 and 2, and I really don't like those levels, so by comparison, this one is a good time. Aside from this one bout of what I can only assume to be Sonic forgetting he has object permanence, that is. You ride this platform to the top of its track, and there's spikes, so you jump off like any sane person and run to the left. But suddenly, there's no way to progress, and you're stuck. So what happened? Well, you're actually supposed to wait for the platform to come back, and if you go off screen just a teensy-weensy bit, yeah, it just kind of vanishes. Yet another problem you could avoid by potentially having played the game before, or perhaps maybe playing on a larger screen. Hint, hint. Oh, and also, I love dying after you already beat the boss. It's my favorite thing to do. And now it's time for the worst part of the game by a landslide. And by that I mean I'd rather be caught in a landslide than play this level again. Scrambled Egg Zone, again, really fun name, but the only thing scrambled after playing this is my brain. Basically, it's a giant maze of tubes that you need to worm your way through by holding certain directions on the D-pad, and it's just trial and error of the level. It doesn't even kill you half the time if you get it wrong. You just gotta do it over and over again until you contemplate becoming a vegan so you never have to think about scrambled eggs ever again. This has gotta be one of the most infuriating levels I've ever experienced in a Sonic game to date. I always tend to wonder when things like this come up why someone would bother putting it into a game if it isn't fun. And of course, fun is subjective, but who was this for and have they rethought their lives since asking for this? I wasn't even happy when I finally finished it, I just felt bitter. That's the worst kind of success in my opinion. At least after a tedious crawl through the worst zone of the game, you're met with a very easy boss fight. It's Silver Mecha Metal Robo Sonic, just covering all the bases since I know I'm inevitably going to be corrected on its true name in the comments. If you just keep jumping in this fight, he can't hurt you since he's made of rubber and apparently so is Sonic. Our little friend here then drops the 6th and final Chaos Emerald, but only if you've collected the other 5 before this point. Looks like we're headed towards the good ending. And that actually includes an entire unique level this time around in the form of Crystal Egg Zone, which is some kind of snow globe, maybe? I don't really know what to make of the flying fish, falling stones, spikes, and huge neon cacti. Maybe it's a representation of Robotnik's shattered psyche? I'm no psychiatrist though, so maybe it's just the Egghead's aesthetic. I don't really get this level. It almost feels like a small maze in its second act, but after the nightmare that was Scrambled Egg, it literally does nothing to add or detract from the experience as a whole. The final boss, on the other hand, is a huge joke. Using the same tubes from Scrambled Egg Zone, you can just play a game of whack-a-mole, except this time you live out the mole's perspective. But more specifically, it's the mole's perspective from one of those cartoons where the guy with the hammer has no chance of ever hitting you and you're just popping out of the pipes making faces and blowing raspberries and stuff. It's hilarious. It's a foolproof strategy, and before long, the boss is toast, and apparently so is Eggman since I didn't see him get away from that one. Looks like he's the only scrambled egg now, am I right? Oh, never mind actually, he's right there. And then we get Tails back, and the game ends with one final insult by showing us the game over screen. Nothing like a good ol' insult to injury to end off a playthrough. Or at least it would be the end of the playthrough if there weren't 2 versions of the game. Guess it's time to do all this stuff again, except we can see more of it, and I'm not sure if it was because I knew the levels already or if it was just actually easier, but my second playthrough wasn't quite as bad. I'm thinking it was the experience thing though, because I didn't really have a ton of fun the second playthrough, I just didn't have as many annoying, visceral hatred moments like I did in the first one. This time I elected to go with the bad ending, since the Chaos Emeralds were in the same spots, and maybe it's just better off this way. You get that classic shot of Sonic looking up at the stars and seeing Tails' face, and I know a ton of people in the comments are going to talk about Tails being dead, and I'm going to add on to that and say every single zone title card is something that Sonic will never get to do with Tails since he was too slow to save his buddy. Now that is deserving of a game over screen. Before we wrap up here, I do want to bring attention to yet another PC and Android remake being developed by the same team as the one I talked about in my last 8-bit Sonic video. This version of the game is completely different than the other two. The level design has seen an overhaul, there are brand new gimmicks, and they're going to be overhauling the Chaos Emerald system. They also went ahead and added 7 new playable characters. Overkill? Let's go with variety. And variety is usually a good thing, and good thing here it is. I graduated with an English degree. I think that sentence I just said would have severely wounded my professors. The remake isn't finished yet, by the way. It's only in its second beta, so I didn't sweep through the entire thing for changes this time like I did with the first one, but I did check out all the new characters. Tails can fly, and he has a flight cancel, always a good thing to add to Tails' moveset. Knuckles can glide and climb walls, sort of, but I'm sure it's just because this is still in beta. The website says that Amy has a double jump, but I couldn't get it to work, so I'm thinking that this coming soon tag here was meant for both of her abilities. Mighty has his stomp from Mania, and it even causes rings to fall out of the air, however he cannot avoid spike damage. Ray has his ability to fly from Mania, but here it's been simplified to just pressing one button in a rhythm to ascend. This means if you touch any other direction on the D-pad, he immediately falls, which I'm not a huge fan of. Finally, we have Shadow, who currently only has a spin dash, but will eventually have an air dash as well, and then Metal Sonic, who can fly by holding up on the D-pad and also perform his signature dash move for some nice horizontal momentum. And then Sonic sees the exact same revamps that he had in the first remake. He now has the spin dash and the peel out. Another plus for the remake is the tag system. The characters are paired up on the character select screen, and you're able to switch between the two you've chosen with the press of a button in-game. I'm hoping that the full release brings the ability to make your own custom pairs, but for now, this is a really good system. I'm gonna give that one some time before I stream it, but you can find it at the link in the description if you want to check it out for yourself. I gotta say though, it's actually a pretty big toss-up as to which version could be considered the definitive one this time around, since neither the Game Gear or Sega Master System version are that great to begin with, and the remake ends up feeling more like a reimagining than anything. But maybe the remake setting itself so far apart from the others is a good thing. So many people seem to have an adverse reaction to this game, so maybe a reimagining is exactly what we need to get rid of that sour taste that the game left in our mouths. And speaking of sour tastes, maybe we check out this one for real next time. Hello everybody, I'm Garrulous64, and Sonic Triple Trouble is a much better Sonic 4 than the game they actually called Sonic 4. Sonic Triple Trouble is actually one of the only 8-bit Sonic games to never get an official Master System port, which means I didn't have to play through the game twice, therefore making this video a lot quicker to make, but it was still pushed back several weeks anyway. Isn't life just magical like that? Before I dove into this one, it's worth it to note that out of all the 8-bit Sonic games, this is the one I'd heard the most people rave about. Raising your expectations is always a dangerous thing when it comes to Sonic, I've learned, since sometimes something looks really good and might sound pretty cool, but wham! You play it and it feels like a slap in the face. With that in mind, can I tell you a little secret? This game is really good! Sonic Triple Trouble once again sees our heroes trying to stop Dr. Robotnik from doing bad thing with shiny rocks. No nukes this time though, so the stakes are immediately lower. And speaking of low, Robotnik tricked Knuckles into helping him again, and I think it's even funnier to think of the game's release date as a time frame for these events, which means 1 month after Sonic saves the Master Emerald for him. Knuckles is out there sipping his pumpkin spice colada from Dunkin' Donuts when Eggman approaches him and convinces him that Sonic is a bad guy. Again, it's whatever they're putting in the pumpkin spice, I'm telling you. Knuckles then takes the Chaos Emeralds from Sonic yet again, laughs at Sonic's corny Instagram selfies, and we're off to the races. Oh right, and then there's the small matter of it being Triple Trouble. This game actually introduces a new character in the form of Fang the Sniper, a purple weasel that somehow beats Sonic and Tails to the Chaos Emeralds every single time, yet doesn't steal them for himself because he's always doomed to fail. Yet we love Fang anyway, he's doing his best.
Where am I? Why am I here?
I'm not sure. Maybe I like butt dialed you or something? I was just in the middle of talking about Fang the Sniper for this video.
You can't just say the F word like that.
Nah, YouTube doesn't really like that, or maybe they do. I can't really tell. This Kappa thing's really confusing.
Can't say that. Can't say that. F-A-N-G? Like, really? Bro. That's like some stuff in your mouth, okay? That's like shark teeth. See, he's Knack the Weasel because Knack does not alliterate well in Japan. See, because Knack the Weasel, it's like Naku Nakaru and Triple Trouble. And you can't do that. That's no good, sir. It just confuses people. So they call him that other name that we will not speak of on this side of the fence. But when it goes to America, they change it to Knack because, you know, alliteration's great over in America and Europe. So Knack and Knuckles, I mean, come on, right? Sonic fights Knack and Knuckles. Let's go. Hey, did you also know that he's the only canon game hybrid? Because he's like a wolf weasel, and he's the only one with 4 fingers because he's a mouse. Hey, that's what Toma made him do. Hold on a second. I think I got some other stuff I can share with you. Let me just go get it. It's my neck facts. Let's check it out. Let's go over here. Let's look. Oh, look. Right here it is. Check this out.
Alright. I think we should be safe now. But just to be sure, let's just call him Knack from now on. Before we end up talking about levels, I'd just like to note that Sonic and Tails are very similar to their previous incarnations with the exception of having a few cool new tricks up their sleeves. I know they don't wear clothes, it's a figure of speech. Tails now has an extra hover move that he can activate after jumping off a spring, which can help him get a little bit more height if he needs it to reach a platform. Tails also gets this Superfly power-up, but it's not really useful. If you hit those monitors that give Tails that ability with Sonic, though, you get the rocket shoes from the last game, so I guess Tails just has his own equivalent that's a little bit more unique for his character. Hey, I guess they thought Turquoise Hill from the last game was pretty great, huh? Or, I don't know, maybe some intern was trying to topple the green regime before it spread too far, but it looks like it didn't work. Folks, this is yet another green level, for lack of a better term. It hits pretty much the same beats as all the others, except there's an abundance of springs. Even the turtles have springs attached to them, possibly so they can spring into action whenever they please. Great Turquoise is actually a pretty great starting location though, because through all the springs you find, you notice the crazy verticality on display here. I.e., these are not Sonic Chaos levels that you can finish in 20 seconds. This is actually the first time the levels feel really fleshed out and expansive to some degree, which made me nervous about finding the Chaos Emeralds, but truthfully, I didn't even have to look them up this time because exploration always yielded the desired result. That being the Chaos Emerald monitor. Mail in 50 rings and some box tops to Eggman's headquarters and you get this rad pencil case and also access to a special stage. Taking a break from the green hills of Great Turquoise, Tails is tossed into a cathedral of some kind. I'm not really sure what it's supposed to be, but I do know that it's a big obstacle course, so you better hurry up and find that weasel chilling out at the end before time runs out. Before you get the wrong idea though, they decided that you'd only be doing these actually fun and challenging platforming sections for the first, third, and fifth special stages. The other two are just lackluster tornado ring collection missions, and they are really boring and really, really easy, and as far as I'm concerned, they're blemishes on the face of a really entertaining game. At least even the boring ones still end with a Knack boss fight, and some are definitely more intimidating than others. Oh my god, he's got the nukes! Yeah, I'm never letting that go. Much like the previous entries, the devs either couldn't count to 7 or simply could not fit 7 full special stages in this game, so, like before, there are 5 special stages and 1 Chaos Emerald accessed through normal gameplay. Grabbing all of these obviously unlocks your true ending, but we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, so let's head back to the real world. And unlike in Sonic Chaos, where the rest of the stage is skipped after you get your emerald, you get to play the entirety of the stage here, which really cuts out the problem of, Sonic Chaos being like 30 minutes long, which was an issue I talked about last time. After traversing 2 acts, the egg big ol' turtle shows up to tussle. And at first it seems simple enough, but then it turns into a reflex test where you need to bounce off a spring and curl into a ball before hitting it to deal damage. And guys, I am really into that because it was an actual challenge, but also fairly balanced for the first encounter of the game. You know, like this should be. Following this, Knuckles roasts you alive, and it's game over. It was a valiant effort, but unfortunately you are not fireproof. Roll credits. Now in the afterlife, Sonic and Tails stumble into Sunset Park instead of heaven. Can't say I'm surprised. This level is littered with motobugs and minecarts, which I am all about. They're just vibing or whatever, so the fact that you can kill them is probably the aforementioned reason why the afterlife hasn't been kind to this duo. I guess Tails just really wanted to copy Sonic from 8-bit Sonic 2, so he was willing to commit murder. Your obsession has gone too far now. I really don't know what this level's supposed to be other than a decent follow-up to Great Turquoise. Like, what even is it like a facility of some kind? I don't know. Doesn't look like a park, I can tell you that much. After finishing Act 2, your character starts auto-running. Sonic Runners Beta, here we go. This was an unexpected little twist that leads to a boss encounter that is, truth be told, really easy, but the build-up left an impression, so I'm still happy. Last stop, everyone out, it's Meta Junglera. Cool name, strange name, I don't know what a Junglera is. Google says it's Sonic the Hedgehog related or a font. I guess we have imaginations this time around. Hot dog. This stage is a lot slower than the last two, and that's partially because of these bouncy orbs we borrowed from Sonic CD. Wasn't a great gimmick there, not a great gimmick here. We also seem to have stepped into the future and stolen the ideas for the Donkey Kong Country barrels a couple months before Donkey Kong Country actually released, and now I don't really know how to process the fact that Donkey Kong Country is a ripoff of Sonic Triple Trouble. Life will surely never be the same again. And now it's boss time. Hey Ma, what's this Elmo-looking thing in Meta Junglera? It's shooting fire and stuff, Ma! Who we gotta call to get rid of this thing? Seriously, this thing is unsettling, I don't know what it is. Knuckles then borrows Knack's nukes and we're introduced to Nuclear Winter Zone. This is just an average snow stage that I don't actually remember too much about. Nothing really stuck out to me here, aside from finding a Chaos Emerald in a cool little ice cave beneath a snow pile, which made me feel like an adventurer. The boss turns out to be Metal Sonic's Bird Sona, perhaps a distant relative of Riders DX. I don't know, I'll have to ask him sometime. Knuckles does the opposite of burn you this time. Why is he in this game? Literally, Eggman could have done all of this himself or had a Roomba with a boot strapped to it doing this. And after the snowfall, welcome to Tidal Plant, or as I like to call it, the water stage with a submarine that lets you very slowly destroy blocks, and also scrambled egg tubes underwater. We're batting 0 for 2 on this stage so far. That's a delight. Thankfully they didn't include an underwater maze in this section, which they very easily could have, but you know, thank you for not doing that. The bubble also returns from Sonic 2, except it's a lot easier to control now, and that is all. Oh, okay, that's why Knuckles is in this game. They wanted to drown him. I mean, look, he's gasping for air throughout the entire fight. Poor guy. Yeah, maybe grow some brains in that head, and then we can talk about getting some oxygen for you, bud. Finally, we arrive in Atomic Destroyer Zone. Nukes! Haha! Alright, so this one does have a tube maze. Scratch that, it has 2 tube mazes. Guys, we were so close! So close! Now I gotta rate this a 0 out of 10. I don't know, you forced my hand. Did I say 0 out of 10? I meant 20 out of 10. Metal Sonic is here because he heard we insulted his bird Sona, and I fear for my survival now. This fellow really tries his best to stop us with all his fancy moves and speed, but he gets scrapped all the same. Then it's on to Knack. Or not, never mind, let's fight Dr. Robotnik in a 3-phase boss fight. Wow, I was not expecting that. This entire gauntlet is really challenging, but also feels fair at the same time, and it was enjoyable. That's really the most I can give it, I had a good time. With that, we take his rock, drop him into a bottomless pit, Wile E. Coyote style, save the princess, and then escape Robotnik's facility on the tornado, with Knuckles vanishing into thin air, but I'm sure he's fine, don't worry about it. And on the flip side, if you don't collect the emeralds, you get to see Knack again at the end, so in my opinion, just don't get the emeralds because we could always use more Knack in our lives. Now, do you want to see a good game get even better? Of course you do. What kind of a question is that? Roll the clip! Fellas, what would happen if we took Sonic Triple Trouble and gave it the Genesis treatment? Answer is, well, this fan game. It's Sonic Triple Trouble on the Sega Genesis, a game I'm convinced was torn out of another dimension and gift-wrapped for us personally by Noah Copeland. This version starts off with a recap of Sonic 3 and Knuckles before Sonic and Tails find themselves on a rainy tutorial island. It's here you learn about all the improvements that have been made to the game's formula, including the ability to switch between the two with the press of a button. You can also press another button while in the air to use the drop dash, or as I like to call it, the thing that I can't live without ever since 2017. And then Tails has a near-death experience with the Death Egg robot, while Sonic lets loose and then drops all the Chaos Emeralds. Whoops. This leads us directly into the game, providing much more context about what happened before Triple Trouble began, though this begs the question, in this version, it seems like only a couple hours have passed since Sonic saved Angel Island, so Knuckles really got some trust issues going on, or what? Who hurt you, Knuckles? I'm assuming that since this demo so far has expanded on the plot already, they might get more into that at some point, but for now, I'm just gonna cross Knuckles off my homies list because this is a little ridiculous. The demo includes the tutorial level, and then 2 zones currently, Great Turquoise Turquoise, which I have not spelled correctly even once in my script, and Meta Junglera, both remade from the ground up, bigger and better than ever, featuring crazy new boss encounters and music that makes my ears do the opposite of bleed. Note, Meta Junglera only has one act completed as of right now, but you can still get that Donkey Kong fix, don't you worry. They've also added knack boss fights to the first act of every zone to make up for the fact that special stages are now races that pit Sonic and Tails against the Purple Prodigy himself. I might really like the original version, but this, not being a complete replacement for it because it has different level layouts, also is incredibly valid and super duper awesome cool, in my opinion. And we get lines like that when you go off script, ladies and gentlemen. Truth be told, this video was supposed to come out a while back, but because it got pushed off because of things I could not control, it means I get to play this new demo instead of releasing a video a few days before that demo would have originally come out, which kinda would've sucked a little bit. Hooray for the hurdles that plague my life. But at the end of the day, this here game is really great, and I'm glad to see that they're on a bit of a roll with these 8-bit titles. So, what will the next one in line bring? Oh, I already covered bootlegs a while back, I'm not doing that again. What? What? No. No, man, what? No, what? Come on, no. What did... What? No, what? No, what? What? No. What did... No, what did they do, dude? What? Look at that, what? No, man, no. No, come on.